Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
You bet. Always up for it.
All right, so today we're tackling this whole American exceptionalism thing,
Yeah.
which, just a refresher, is the belief that the U.S. is, well,
Basically superior?
superior to other nations. Yeah,
Right, like a cut above.
exactly. And to really get into it, we're diving into this forum called Coffee Talk.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. A lot of passionate takes on there.
Oh, for sure. People were going back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
debating whether it's a myth or reality.
I mean, that's the core of it, right?
Totally. So we're going to pull out some of their points, see how the U.S. compares to other countries.
This is interesting. What areas are we looking at?
Well, Coffee Talk got into a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare, education, even gun control.
Oh, wow. Jumping right into the deep end.
Yeah, no holding back. And speaking of deep ends, let's start with healthcare.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so one thing that kept coming up on Coffee Talk was this weird contradiction with U.S. healthcare.
Contradiction.
Yeah, like the U.S. spends more money on healthcare than any other developed country.
I mean, that's no secret, right? Everyone knows that.
But here's the thing. Even though we spend the most, our health outcomes aren't that great.
Yeah, that's the part that's hard to wrap your head around.
Right. And Coffee Talk really highlighted that.
It's like, where's all that money going?
I know, right? So how do other countries, do more with less?
Well, a lot of folks on Coffee Talk were pointing to universal health care.
Ah, okay, so like Canada and Germany.
Exactly. Those were mentioned a lot. They guarantee basic health care for everyone, no matter their income.
And the U.S. system is more,
Well, it relies heavily on private insurance, which means millions of people struggle to afford care.
yeah, I've heard stories about people delaying treatment because of costs.
Right. And that can lead to worse health outcomes in the long run.
Makes sense. It's like we're putting profits over people's well-being.
That was a big point of discussion on Coffee Talk, for sure.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, Coffee Talk also got into education.
Okay, interesting. What were they saying about that?
Well, there was this interesting contrast that came up.
Oh,
Like, on one hand, U.S. colleges and universities are top-notch, globally recognized.
oh, for sure. That's something we do really well.
But then on the other hand, our public school system has a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's the disconnect, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Coffee Talk was trying to figure out, like, why such a huge difference?
Yeah. What were some of the ideas they came up with?
Well, funding was a big one.
Funding, that makes sense.
Yeah, like in the U.S., a lot of public school funding comes from local property taxes.
Ah, so wealthier areas have more money for schools.
Right, which means poor areas often have less resources.
So basically, your zip code can determine the quality of your education.
It seems that way, yeah. And Coffee Talk pointed out that other countries do things differently.
How so?
Well, like Finland, they have a centralized funding model.
Meaning?
Every school gets enough resources no matter where it's located.
Oh, I see. So they're trying to level the playing field.
Exactly. Makes you think, right?
It does.
Okay, so Coffee Talk also got pretty philosophical, talking about American democracy.
Ooh, now that's a big topic.
I know, right? But some people argued that recent events have exposed some, like, cracks in the system.
Cracks.
Yeah, like, things aren't as perfect as we might think.
What were they pointing to?
Well, there's this increasing political polarization,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then there are efforts to suppress voting rights and attacks on democratic norms.
So basically, challenges to how our democracy functions.
Right. And Coffee Talk even brought up these international rankings of democratic stability.
Interesting. How do we stack up?
Well, apparently, we're actually slipping behind some other countries.
Like who?
Canada and New Zealand were mentioned.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, they apparently have more robust systems for fair elections and protecting minority rights.
So it's like maybe reciting the Pledge of Allegiance isn't enough.
Right, it's about actually living up to those ideals.
Yeah, putting those words into action.
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, brace yourself, because Coffee Talk also discussed gun violence.
Oh, that's a tough one. But yeah, it's important to talk about.
Absolutely. And the U.S. has a way higher rate of gun violence than other developed countries.
Sadly, that's true. Why do you think that is?
Well, a big difference that came up on Coffee Talk was the number of guns in circulation.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like, the U.S. has a strong gun culture and pretty lax gun control laws.
Compared to other countries, yeah.
Right. They mentioned Australia as an example.
Australia, what did they do?
After a mass shooting in the 90s, they implemented strict gun control measures.
Like what?
They even had a nationwide gun buyback program.
Wow, that's a big step.
Yeah, and it seems to have worked. Their gun violence rates went down significantly.
Shows that policy can make a difference.
For sure. Now, it wasn't all doom and gloom on Coffee Talk.
Oh, good. What else did they say?
Well, they did acknowledge that the U.S. has a lot of strengths.
Yeah, we definitely shouldn't ignore those.
Right. They talked about things like our culture, technology, and entrepreneurship.
We're definitely a powerhouse in those areas.
Totally. But I think the overall message from Coffee Talk was to be honest about this idea of American exceptionalism.
Yeah, like to really look at ourselves critically.
Exactly. And to be open to learning from other countries.
I mean, why not take the best ideas from everyone?
Exactly. So after going through all these comparisons, it's kind of like, what do we think?
Yeah, is American exceptionalism a fact, or is it more complex than that?
Right. And if other countries are doing some things better, maybe we should learn from them.
Yeah, I think that's something worth pondering.
It is, for sure. So just some food for thought as we wrap up.
Hope everyone enjoyed the deep dive.
Until next time.